Welcome, friends and fellow adventurers, to the 23rd episode of Cocked, a real play D&D podcast. I'm Alex Reid, your DM and guide to the Lands of Manassas. To quickly recap last session, the party was struggling to fight the corrupt Dryads in the Grove. They were getting overwhelmed when all of a sudden a Conclave Dryad burst out of a large tree in the center of the grove, and in seconds, the corrupt Dryads were reduced to ash, and all that remained where they once stood were purple stones. The Conclave Dryad introduced herself as Peliphione, and brought some Dryads to heal the party and retrieve the purple stones the party and Alfred seek. We found out that Peliphione knows Alfred and his family, and Braca had a few more questions about the stones before handing them over. This week, we're going to forego the cast introductions again. Names and Instagram handles are included in the episode description. We resume as Braca asks Peliphione a few more questions before Braca agrees to give all the stones over to the mysterious Conclave Dryad who burst through the tree. Peliphone's going to look at Braca, and she's going to point to the shards that are on the ground and say, "And those?"
You're going to have them. I don't care. I have no use for them.
And as you say that, you see...
Wait, real quick before you take them. Mm-hmm. Are these like shards of a bigger piece?
And she kind of looks at Alfred, and he goes, yes and no.
Explain.
So, we protect what's called Wavinium. Mm-hmm. Because if it gets out of the Feywild, it has different effects on different planes and different people. This purple stuff is nasty. It brings out a lot of the
negative aspects of things.
Negative desires, and it plays on hate and despair. So it makes people feel as though they want to hurt others. So we usually try to keep it locked away. That's where... So I kind of told you, we're... I don't know how to fly because we burrow more than anything because we live so deep underground. It's just really nasty stuff. And my brothers and I were messing around one day, and I thought I finally got a good hit on one of my brothers, and he slammed into one of the chunks of this Wavinium that we had, and it broke into smaller pieces. That's why we have so much. We used to only have 3 pieces that was easier to keep track of, but when he slammed into one, it broke into a bunch of smaller pieces, so now we have about 15 chunks total of it. That could be moved. There's still, to my knowledge, and Peliphione kind of looks at him, and you see she gives him this look like, "You're saying too much." And she says, "Alfred, your family has returned, and measures have been taken to ensure that no one comes after the purple Wavinium again."
Does she say this in Common or Sylvan?
She's going to say it in Sylvan to him. And Alfred kind of nods, and he goes, What about my family? Like, what about my mom, my dad, my brothers?" And she kind of nods, and she says, "Well, they've gone to the council," and this is all in Sylvan. She says, "They've gone to the council of Soaring Shadows, and they've come to the Dryads and asked for help finding you. They never gave up, but most of us believe you lost. This is great news that you're alive, but answers still need to be had. And I think it's best if rather than I tell them you're alive and bring you to the council now, we wait until we have all these stones so we can prove that we've brought them all back."
How did you find us in the first place?
How did I find you?
I was very clear with what I asked. How did you find us?
And she just looks at Alfred and looks back at the rest of you, and she looks straight at Agar, and she says, "You of all people and your individuals from the Golden Fang should know the answer to that. you can enlighten your friend.
Hey, Braun, we'll speak of this later.
Seeing them like speaking Sylvan since you can't understand them, Brock is just gonna go back like annoyedly, just making notes again.
I asked in common though. I didn't speak in Sylvan.
Oh, she'll answer in Sylvan. She won't. She doesn't speak in common.
Yeah. So the important thing is you have found Alfred. Alfred is helping us locate these stones so you can take them from our world back to the Fae. What else is needed here?
And while that's happening, you guys can see Alfred, like, behind all these conversations, like, slowly reaching. And just like, tink. And grabbing him, like, one stone at a time, just, like, watching everybody, like, looking around, like...
Brocken
gonna
will help
take
him. He'll,
these.
like, pick up, like, the things with the cloth and, like, hand them to him.
Oh, he'll take... He's like, thank you. And he says it in common. He looks at Brock and just whispers, thank you. And starts putting them away. As you ask that question, Alfred goes, I think I can answer a little bit of that. So, Peliphione, I don't think there's much more. I think you've got your work cut out for you here fixing these woods. And she kind of looks around and looks at the other dryads and nods. And they start, and you see not all of them leave from where she is. A couple of them go. But they start to use that light that you saw them putting into a Brone and in Kadie and Alfred bringing him back. They start to kind of do it to the trees, and you start to see life start to come from the roots. And now it's more green, and the brownish hues of actual live trees start to take, even on those dark ones, start to take hold and come up. You notice one go over and basically stand over one of the stumps and reach down, and it's almost as if they sacrifice themselves to create a new tree. Because as the dryad stands there, that dark wood on the bottom starts to turn brown and almost melds with them and comes up, and you see the facial features of the dryad disappear as it goes up and kind of spirals and creates another new tree of life. And you see she's standing there, and quite a few do. And as this takes place, she looks at Alfred and she looks at Agard. She says, we felt a very negative energy from this area. That's the reason that we came. I know the Sisters of Night have been doing a lot. I was actually tracking a group of goblins that are being led by some hobgoblins. I believe that they're working with the Sisters of Night. I don't believe the Sisters of Night were able to keep control of the stones when they passed from the Feywild here. Somehow, I'm not sure what happened, but I feel like they were spread, and they're trying to retrieve all the pieces. But this was definitely a site that they originally tried to create when they came through. And this tree, and she reaches back and touches it. And as you look up, you start to realize that this tree isn't a single tree. It has a 10-foot wide, like massive diameter trunk. Mm-hmm. But it is almost a combination of all these different types of trees in one growing up. Agard, you've seen a tree like this. Mm-hmm. It is a giant tree that is in the Manacroft forest that your people call it loosely translates to the transportation tree. Mm-hmm. That is the tree that your people hold sacred, as that is the tree that when you left the Golden Fang forest, rather than migrating and walking all the way across the lands, you were able to transport to it. There was a small group that went across the lands to find the tree. Mm-hmm. And when they found the tree, they came back, they knew the way, and brought the rest of the people to the Manacroft forest and left the Golden Fang forest. Yeah. So you have known about these trees, and the rumor was, you know of the one in the Manacroft forest.
Right.
You've heard of it being used to travel to the Golden Fang forest, but you guys had never done it yourself. Mm-hmm. And there was rumored to be another one in the Violet Woods. Mm-hmm. This is that tree in the Violet Woods, as Agard's starting to put those pieces together.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so what is needed now? Because we need to retrieve the rest of these stones and send them on their way.
I believe you'll find at least a few more with the hobgoblins that we were tracking. I believe our work is cut out here for us. There is an entrance that they used in Evorgos. I believe they tunneled under the city of Evorgos, and that is where they started to wreak havoc.
Okay.
The Sisters of Night, from what we can tell, did not come through the Golden Fang Forest, did not come through any known portals connecting to the Feywild. We're not sure how they got here or how they were able to get out without the councils and the protections that we have in the Feywild being able to detect them coming and going.
Do you have anything that you could give us that would aid us in this task?
She turns and in Elvish mutters something to the tree. And it's at that point that you see it's a larger dryad than the others come through the tree. And they start to have this conversation in Elvish. Does anybody else? You do? So you hear she mutters to the tree. She says, the artifact that we found beneath Evorgos, bring it to me. And as this other dryad appears, hands her this, it's a wooden box. And he hands her this wooden box, and you hear him say, are you sure we can trust them? And in Elvish, she looks back at him and says, if Alfred trusts them, I believe we should. He says, but Alfred, and she goes, enough. I understand what Alfred did. I understand that he was coerced and tricked by hags and creatures who did nasty tricks. But this is not Alfred's fault. He was left alone. The council agreed that we would not leave any protectors by themselves. There would always be at least 2 people there, and we failed just as the Council of Shadows failed. So we will not hold this against Alfred, and we will help him get these pieces back. And you kind of see the dryad that had come through was trying to be more like an aggressive presence towards her, saying not to trust it. But as she kind of said that, you almost feel like she put him in his place. Like his shoulders kind of dropped and he kind of backed away. And a lot of the hostility towards Alfred kind of disappeared. And she says, thank you. You may go. And you see as he kind of nods and just merges with the tree again and disappears.
Who speaks Elvish? Oh, Agarn. Okay.
So she turns around, clears her throat, and in common just says, I apologize for that. And looks over at Alfred and kind of reaches out and touches him on the shoulder and just says, you need to release the burden. It is not your fault. We left you all alone. There should have been somebody with you. I appreciate your bravery chasing them down, though. Hold those stones dear and make sure they get back to the Feywild. Alfred kind of nods and looks at her. Peliphione, I can't thank you enough. She says, shh. There are not many who trust you any longer once they find out you're alive and you were tricked like this. However, it is not your fault, and we have much to prove. But you must have all 15 stones before you return. And then she looks at the rest of the group, and in common again, she says, when the time comes, I may need to summon the 4 of you to the council on behalf of Alfred. Is that something that you guys would be willing to do for him?
I mean, what does it entail? Like us testifying for him?
Yes.
Braga just kind of shrugs, still like looking down at his notes, writing stuff in. I mean, sure.
I do not speak for the others, but I would.
She looks at the other 2. She looks at Abrone and Kadie.
Without question, I'll be there.
Sure.
She looks at Alfred and kind of pats him on the shoulder. Everything will work out, friend. And it's at this point you see, like I said, this whole time she's been very, very like rigid. She hasn't relaxed, but once she's got that commitment from you guys and she sees where it's going and she starts to realize that now you guys are in possession of 11 of the 15 missing stones, She kind of has a sigh of relief. Her shoulders kind of relax. And she looks to you guys and she says, the road to Evorgos is a treacherous one. There's a lot on the road between here and there.
So, question, sorry. Their encampment, this goblin or hobgoblin encampment, it's not in Evorgos. You said they were tunneling underneath Evorgos.
Correct.
Can you point out on this map where specifically they are?
And she's just going to point to the city of Evorgos on the map, and she's going to say, "It's in the city. I can describe the building to you. It's a 2-story building.
Oh, their direct encampment is
Yes.
inside of Evorgos.
Well, the tunnel to get into Evorgos.
The entryway to get to them is inside.
Yes, that's all that
They
we.
basically tunneled their way into the city and popped up in this building.
Yes,
I just didn't know if they had like a camp outside or whatever.
Probably underground.
we believe they do, but we haven't. We were there when we felt this. I felt a cry for help, and I almost didn't believe it because it was Alfred. And Alfred was, to my knowledge, dead for years. So I almost didn't come, but I wanted to check on my friend, and I'm glad I did.
Have you sensed or seen any other crystals or purple wivinium, anywhere else besides Evorgos with these hobgoblins and goblins?
We only recently came here from the Fae. We came here specifically to track those hobgoblins, but there are other locations. There are 2 more. One in the Dalmont Bog and one in the Golden Fang Forest that we were going to investigate.
Okay. Brock is just gonna essentially put a dot in those 2 areas. You said the Golden Fang Forest.
The Golden Fang Forest and the Dalmont Bog.
Okay. Cool.
That was where their stronghold was before the Sisters of Night, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Dalmont Bog.
Yeah.
And where else? Sorry.
Golden Fang Forest and Dalmont Bog.
Dalmont.
Dalmont.
Okay. Dalmont Bog.
Bog.
Okay.
The swamp area.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Brock will just put a little dot on those 2 areas essentially.
Are any of you still wounded, or do you need...
Both Kadie and Ebron. Brock, how are you?
I'm fine. I have a scratch or 2, but that's about it. Don't waste your healing ability thingy on me.
Well, we're here. We're going to take care of this section of the Violet Woods and heal this. And you see as she motions to one of the dryads, it goes through the big tree again, it merges. Mm-hmm. And then probably a minute later, 15 more step out as they start going and healing the trees, these dryads. Mm-hmm. She says, I do not mind. I think while we're here, you should rest. And I don't mind making sure that we heal you all up.
It's going to be about midday at this point, right?
Yeah. How long? We haven't been traveling for long.
Yeah, we woke up and basically walked here, so it's about midday.
It's almost midday right now after this with this conversation, but she kind of looks around. She says, why don't you rest up? We will make sure that you're safe. Alfred could use it. And Alfred kind of laughs, and he's like, yeah, I could use a little. I don't really want to go to sleep again, but...
Can you heal my friends?
Yes. And so anybody who is hurt or hurting, a couple dryads kind of approach you and just slowly reach out and just touch basically your shoulder. And you see that light again pulse down their arm, and they will heal you back to full health.
Cool.
Agar looks at Peliphione and motions to the box that she was given. How will this help us along the way?
This acts as a compass of sorts. It will show you to the nearest source of Lavinium. This one is specifically geared towards purple wivinium. So this should help you find the remaining shards. We have a few of them, so please feel free to use it, but please keep it safe. And she turns and looks at Alfred and then Silva, and she says, when you're done, please return the stones and that to us. Bring those to the council. And Alfred kind of nods and in common says, of course, we'll bring the stuff back. We'll bring the stones back, and I'll bring this compass back. But if my friends don't want to come, I don't want to force them to speak on my behalf.
May I ask you something? Could we not just give you the stones that have been collected so far?
It's kind of a risk.
And have you take them back? That way we do not currently have any with us.
If you trust me to do that, then yes. But I wasn't going to try to take... You guys seem like you've been through quite a lot.
Well, Alfred, I think we leave that to you. Do we trust Peliphione enough to take care of this?
Alfred's like, I mean, I trust her. Peliphione kind of looks at him and looks at the rest of you and kind of nods, and she says,
okay, I'm going to roll insight on...
If he said that in
18.
common, I'll roll inside as well.
oh, he said it in common. He's talking in common. She's speaking in Sylvan.
Yeah, Agar is just speaking in Sylvan just because...
But he trusts everybody enough that he's just speaking, trying to make sure that everybody kind of understands what's going on.
I got an 18 on insight on Peliphione.
I got 15 on Alfred, I guess.
You feel like Alfred's telling the truth. He trusts Peliphione.
Okay.
You feel like Peliphione is sincere. She's not out to gain control. She's out to...
Just restore balance. To the
Right,
realm.
restore balance to the Fey realm, because right now there's a lot of craziness and hecticness going on, and she wants to return it to normal. You do feel like there's a huge sigh of relief from her, and you feel like that is most likely because she realizes that Alfred's alive, and for years she has thought he was dead.
Peliphione, we will, with what we've heard from Alfred, we would trust you to take the stones we have, these 11, back to the Feywild now, so they are off of our world. And we will continue to look for the other 4.
Question, because I'm pretty sure she said in Sylvan that the hags got their hands on other stuff too, right? She didn't say that in common.
It wasn't uncommon.
Okay. Brock is going to say, is there anything else we should be worried about? If there were, cunning enough to trick Alfred and steal this much, is there any other thing that they stole from the Fae that we should worry about?
She thinks for a moment. There's nothing as serious as a purple wivinium. The reason being is that this can corrupt just about anything on the material plane that is from the material plane. It could corrupt myself, my dryads, here. If we were in the Feywild, it doesn't have those same effects on us. We're able to resist it. But in the material plane here, we don't have the defenses we have there.
So
Fortunately for Alfred and his family, which is why they're known as the Wardens of the Deep, they don't ever feel the effect of the purple wivinium. That's why they were chosen to guard it. Because out of all creatures, including numerous different dragons to pick up and hold these stones, they never had a thought of violence or hate from these stones, which is very admirable.
So would it be a wise choice for us to just hand them over to you now? Because you still have to make some sort of contact with them to take them.
As long as they are in a bag that I don't directly touch them, it shouldn't be an issue. My only concern is if I go back and I return these stones, they're going to ask where the other 4 are, and then they're going to find out that Alfred's still alive, and they're going to demand to know why I didn't bring Alfred back.
And we should probably wait.
Yeah. Could we take his bag with the stones and then put them in your bag?
Well, his bag's like a bag of holding, right? Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I don't feel like going to the astral
I
plane.
just about, yeah.
Yeah. Peliphione looks at Alfred, and Alfred's like, I don't know about this bag, but
Let's just hold off.
Taka, can I see that cloth?
I mean, sure. I'll just hold it.
He's gonna make a stick and
So
bindle.
he's gonna hold it, and he's gonna look at Peliphione and say, what's this made of? And she kind of looks at it and looks it over.
Unobtainium.
She's like, it feels like a specific silk that comes from the Feywild. Do you think you could get us a bag made of this? She has the cloth from Alfred and just hands it to one of the dryads and speaks to it in Sylvan. Those that understand Sylvan here, find a bag created like this, bring it back as quickly as possible. And it turns and disappears and goes into the tree.
I'll need that to pick up. Never mind.
Peliphione kind of looks at you and she says, do not worry, small one. We will bring that and more back.
So I take the box from Peliphione.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, like, how's a box going to show me where anything is? I don't understand.
Well, there's hinges on it. You have to open the box.
Right, so
Do you-
it opens the box.
Do you open the box?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a dick in a box?
Yeah.
There's a dick needle.
Oh. I hand it to Ebron.
That's all you.
With your Agard cream. That's you.
Oh, gross. Yes. Come on.
Oh my god.
So
Can't take it. Don't dish it.
so you get the box. When you open the box, there is a needle, and if you look at the map that Braca has and you're holding it, the needle is pointing to what looks like the direction of Evorgos.
Sure. Gotcha.
However, as you look at it, it's in the direction of Evorgos, but it's not matched up exactly with Evorgos.
Okay.
Brock will say, after we rest, you just want to head in that direction.
I think that is wise. Okay.
My people will watch you. And as you guys kind of relax and kind of start to take a rest, you see Alfred, he kind of comes over, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. They kind of caught me by surprise. Like,
No.
I was flying, and I saw you guys, and then I was like, I'm going to go recon. And I came ahead, and I was invisible, and I landed. I looked around, I didn't see anything, and I dropped my invisibility, and next thing I know, there's these 7... I thought were dryads. I tried to talk to them in Sylvan. They did not like me. They told me that I was the enemy, which was super confusing. Then all of a sudden, vines shot around me a couple times, and then they just started hitting me over the head. And then next thing I know, Peliphione was looking in my eyes. I haven't seen Peliphione, well, I'd say in 10 days, but apparently it's been 4 years.
We've been through a lot. I say we rest here for a brief period and then head on our way.
Sure.
And then you guys want to take a short rest?
And after about 15, 20 minutes, while you guys are taking that short rest, the dryad returns that she had sent with a cloth and with a small bag that, well, it's not small. It's about a medium-sized bag. It's pretty good size that it can fit all the stones that were there.
So compared to Braca.
It's about half the size of Braca.
Okay. Okay.
But they do have enough room to put all 11 of the stones you guys have now in that bag, and it can fit in the bag of holding now.
Okay, so it's not
It's
a
not
bag
a-
of
yeah,
holding.
It is not a bag of holding. It is a bag made out of that material to basically block the effects of these stones.
So we take the price tag off that bag and then.
So
It says 12,000 gold.
Oh shit!
I'm just gonna
You're
turn.
welcome.
I'm gonna turn the A-guard, hold my bag of holding up. So how bags of holding work? Do you know what a bag of holding is?
Bags hold things.
Well, it's a magical thing.
Cobalt splaining.
I am not aware.
So a bag of holding, if there's anything in it, and if you pierce it or tear it or anything like that, all the things that are inside the bag get sent to the astral plane. So if you want to keep that bag in here, you can. But if somebody comes along and stabs the bag, or if it gets torn on something.
Would you suggest we not put it in your bag of holding?
I don't think so.
Okay. I can carry the bag if needed.
Sure.
If you guys need me to, I can carry it and stay invisible.
I thought it, Alfred.
We could split them.
We
Just
could
so
split them too.
all
That
of
way,
them-
if somebody takes a bag, you're right. Nobody gets all of them.
You can keep 7 of them, and we'll keep 4 of them.
Okay.
I think that sounds like a good idea. That way, nobody can steal them and get them all at once.
Okay. But we defend these bags,
Yes.
no matter what.
Of course.
Okay.
Your bag isn't like a bag of holding, is it? It's just like a normal bag.
Nope.
Okay.
And what was everyone's question earlier? I'm sorry.
Oh,
That I said we would discuss later.
how did they find us?
You said Agard knows. I'm assuming it's because he's from the Fae. They could track.
So, Agard has heard of these dryads, especially when you heard of the dryad conclave. Mm-hmm. He knows about stories of very powerful dryads that basically worked with furbolgs to protect the woods, to protect the wilds.
Right.
And they can hear and see through trees.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So he. Okay.
So,
Agard tells you that.
Okay.
yeah. So they essentially looked through the tree when they felt that pull that she believed to be Alfred, which she was like, there's no way because he's been dead.
And dead.
And when she realized it was Alfred, that's why she came.
And that time difference, that's a common Fae
Yep.
thing, that time back and forth. So, okay. So,
So you guys are going to take your short rest. So go ahead, do your short rest.
During the short rest,
yeah, I want to talk to Braca too for a second.
Braca was gonna walk over to Kadie, since he hasn't talked to Kadie since the battle. Assuming Kadie is like conscious and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah, Kadie,
They're fully healed now, aren't they?
are you okay?
I mean, I feel good. I feel fine physically.
But not so much in other ways.
Yeah, I just, that took a lot out of me, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Ebron almost died too.
Yeah, that makes me feel a little better, so I appreciate you letting me know that again. I did forget that little fact.
I mean, I'm trying. I'm a chemist, not a therapist.
I appreciate all that you do, Braca. Can you just can you maybe make me one slight, maybe not necessarily a promise, but a no, yeah, I'm gonna ask for a promise.
Okay.
Can you just not go directly into clearings without maybe discussing with the group first? Just so we can make sure that if something's about, we're not going to be stuck in the middle. It was quite frightening to see you just sprawled out on the ground like that.
If the situation calls for me to explain things, then yes. I will promise to do it if the situation calls for it. There are some times where you can't really just sit back and wait. That was probably one.
That was
of those
definitely
times,
one where you could have waited.
but
Yeah.
that was 100% one of those times, and not the wisest idea on my part, I'll admit. But in the future, I'll attempt to be more cautious.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, none of us died. We're still okay, for the most part.
I mean, I felt like I almost did, so... But you're right, I'm still here. That's a good...
Oh, you didn't see what Agar turned into, did
And
you?
Agard, I think, hears this.
No.
Rock, I was going to ask you, do you know what... I was attempting to turn into a dire wolf.
Could Braka roll a nature check?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I figured he would have drawn it by now.
He took the time.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
25. And can Braca attempt a Dryad as well?
Be performance.
I'm going to say performance on that one first.
So the performance.
But you do.
Performance is only an 8. Very, very rough sketch.
I mean, but the thing is, everything that Agar, it's the same druid rules. On the monstrosities, he's had to see them. That's why I was very specific about where, like,
Right.
the monsters I picked. It's only in areas that, like, Agard has been that he would have seen. Like, so and the Kruthic would be something from the deep, dark wood, you know.
That, and you have scrolls, too, that while you haven't physically seen them, there are some that you have read about.
Right.
Looking at the sketch, I'm going to say with your 25, that was more to remember what it looked like and try to remember exactly what it was. You get the name.
Kruthic or Kruthic?
Kruthic.
Okay.
Yep, Kruthic, and that's about it. I know you rolled a 25, but that's really all that you would get because you haven't, even though you lived in the mountains and in the deep, your tribe kind of tried to avoid that, and then after that, you had gone to Gilmead, which those aren't in Gilmead.
I got to imagine Kruthic would love a clan of kobold.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Oh my god.
Kruthic.
Kruthic.
Yes. Do you have to see? I don't know how your shape-shifting ability works.
We have to have viewed the creature that we can turn into.
Where have you seen that sort of thing before?
There's deep, dark areas, the wood, caves, and that sort of thing. They burrow deep, and they do come out at times. So, not near Homewood, but in the deep north, in the deep wood there, we have seen them.
Ebron, are you standing near this conversation too? Are you guys all kind of together, or are you off on your own?
I'm standing near the conversation.
Okay. You can roll a perception check during this conversation with disadvantage.
Okay, that's either a 25 or a 25.
Okay. You notice
You pick.
25. Okay. I'll choose that one. The lower of the two. The lower 25. You notice Alfred just disappears for a minute. Mm-hmm. And as you're having this conversation, you're kind of like, that's weird. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, all four of you just feel like 2 legs on the outside of you start to pull you in and just give you guys a hug. And all of a sudden, Alfred disappears. He's like, I just want to say thank you. I think you guys may have saved me, and I was going to die. And you guys have no reason to trust me, and you decided to come help me find these stones. And if my family really thinks I've been dead for 4 years, like, that's really scary and really sad to think about. And, like, technically you guys would have been my friends for, like, 4 years, according to them. So, like, I really wanted to say thank you. And you see, like, he starts to kind of, like, tear up.
To cry, Alfred?
There's little tears coming down as Alfred kind of hugs you, and he's like,
Tears.
he's like,
Honestly, I honestly,
he's like, I just want to say,
I see Alfred
cries, and Brock holds him a
Brock is
vial.
like,
actually, could Braca be like, just hold up a vial?
I actually did that for just see if he would, but
Oh, sorry.
Broca's
No.
gonna genuinely hold it like a
I had
couple
a feeling.
vials. So if he could fill up 2 vials of
I would say you
tears
could probably fill up one, most
a bit.
likely. But he starts to kind of tear up and cry a little bit as he hugs you guys, and he's like, you guys, you don't understand what this means to me, because like they could have killed me on sight for what happened, and you guys are really helping me out here and allowing me to fix a mistake that I never should have made. I just wanted to say thank you. And he kind of gives you guys like a big hug, and he kind of tears up. He's like, "But okay, I'm gonna just kind of close my eyes though. Is there a way you guys could make sure? Like, I'm still super uneasy. Like, those other dryads, they scared me. And well, I know that." And he gets really quiet, and he looks at you, and at Agard, and whispers in Sylvan. He says, I don't know how much I trust dryads right now, other than Peliphione. just because of what we just went through, and I would really feel comfortable if you guys were okay with kind of watching me for the next little bit while I nap.
How big is Alfred? Like,
He's big. He's large.
Is he okay? So, is he smaller than a 20 by 20? I think so, right? Because 10 by 10.
He's 10 by 10.
Okay,
Yeah, he's large. He's 10 by 10.
Right.
Braca will ritually cast alarm around him.
Thank you.
Just don't move out of. Well, I mean, you can if you want. It won't,
Yeah, you can choose him to
it
be
won't
the.
go off if you go in it.
No,
I'll
Alfred.
try not to.
If these vials explode, that's what's gonna happen if the alarm goes off. Or no, I think they're gonna explode. Something like that. If the vials make a noise, I mean, we'll hear it. If we're not, already nearby.
Is Alfred like laying on the ground now?
Yeah, he laid right where he was. If you cast alarm around it, he just laid in the middle of it. Like,
Is this going to trip alarm if Agar just sits
No, I
next
mean,
to?
I automatically have it designated so you guys don't.
Okay,
trip
so
it.
Agar just basically sits against Alfred like a couch, like
Right.
just kind of
like sitting on the
leaning
ground but
against him.
leaning against
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
What did you want to ask me, Igor?
Just what I had turned into because it was not what I intended.
Oh,
It seemed effective. They were scared of it, which I imagine anyone would. I was the first time I came upon them, but that's all. Kadie, I think it is a good thing you were not with us at that time. I think you may have.
Braca's gonna show Kadie the
I
sketch.
think I would have ran.
Yeah,
Yes.
he show you the picture.
It's a very, very rough drawing of a Kruthrik, but still a drawing.
Looks like a bug.
Yeah, a stick bug. That's about
It looks like a large praying mantis with 6 legs.
And
That's what his drawing
lots
looks
of
like.
teeth. And Venom's head.
Yeah, and like massive fangs for teeth. You see like the little kid teeth drawings.
It was really cool.
This-
I don't think you did. I don't know if you meant to do it.
That's not.
Cool.
And it was hard for me to change back.
Well, cool for me to watch at least.
Oh my god.
The only thing Braca's only other thing he's gonna do during the rest is just mess with the mask again.
Does anybody else want to do anything during this short rest?
Rest.
Yeah, rest.
Okay, so you guys get through your short rest. You guys can hear like quiet little snores coming from Alfred for like 20, 30 minutes before you guys start to get up and finish up your short rest. Peliphione kind of looks at you and she nods and she says, rather than take the main road, maybe we should help you and get you to Evorgos faster. And she kind of waves at the tree, and you see as some of the trees that are there start to kind of twist around, and they part, and they come apart and create almost like a tunnel. And she says, "There's a couple trees outside of Evorgos that we used to get here. When you get to Evorgos, you're going to want to go to the main tavern at the center of town. There's not many people left there. It should be pretty much a straight shot. The goblins don't typically come out until night, but be wary. They are everywhere in Evorgos. So I would quickly get to the tavern. If you go in and you go down into the basement, there's a steel hatch in the basement along the wall. We fashioned what we could to seal it to try to keep the goblins from coming through before we came here. But I believe there's probably more tunnels into Evorgos than just this one. So I would hurry, get there, and get to the hatch before nightfall. And as she looks up, she says, it's a little past midday now. You should be able to use this travel method to get there and get into the tavern before night falls and have a little bit of time to come up with a plan."
Okay.
Alfred kind of gives her a look and she's like, "It's the same way you've traveled before." He's like, "Do you guys want me to go first?"
I will go with you.
Okay.
Agard puts his hand on Alfred's back and
Walks with him, and you guys kind of, and Ebrone, Braca, and Kadie, you see as they start to enter the tree, it's almost like reality bends, and they start to shrink as they start to approach the tree, and they go in, and while you're standing there, you look, and Agard becomes about the size of Braca, and Alfred becomes about the size of a dog. And they both kind of go through, and you see as they just disappear on the other side. Agard and Alfred walk through. This is where we will end this week's episode, as Peliphione created a portal for the party to step through to get just outside of Evorgos. Thank you to all our friends and listeners who are following along with the adventure. We love entertaining and making people smile and sharing the fun of our table with everyone listening at home, work, in the car, or wherever you may choose to tune into Cocked, a real play RPG podcast. If everyone listening could please take a moment to follow the links for our casts in the episode description and follow and like their Instagram shenanigans, that would help get the word out about the show. If you'd like to help the show continue to reach new heights, check out our Patreon in the episode description and go subscribe. Big news for our Patreon subscribers are coming at the end of April. Lastly, but certainly not least, tune in next week as the party finishes stepping through the portal in the tree. Do they all make it to their intended destination? Do they become more lost along the way? We will answer those questions as well as more next week in episode 24 of Cocked, a real play RPG podcast.
Or, oh my goddess.
Lanta.
What do they worship?
You know
Oh my,
you know
oh
God
my
out?
heaven.
Oh my, whichever.
How do I
it
spell?
is.
How do I pronounce my God's name? Dhoesis. Doses?
Dasis.
Dasis? Okay, that's my God.
No, actually, no, I think you're right the first time. Dosis.
Doses.
I don't think everybody has.
That's why every time Eric leaves, he's just like, and that's a blessing.
Right.
Doses.
Wow.
Doses. Can that be canon instead of like peace be with you or something like that?
Dose.
Follower doses just they leave it because they just go.
Hold up two peace signs to the side like
Doses.
a gangsta.